What is up, everybody?
You that cold start got you feeling a little jumpy, huh?
Yeah, I don't know how I feel.
Cold start.
What is up, everybody?
That always sounds. What's up, everybody? Pfizer may or may not have been doing, but definitely is not, and is maybe perhaps doing gain-of-function research. We don't know. They don't call it that. So we're going to look into that. Also, Pfizer is putting out, well, the media that Pfizer pays so much money to is putting out 1,000 reasons that you might be having blood clots, and none of them are related to the vaccine, you silly gooses. Okay? And then the last but not least, Tyre Nichols was killed by white supremacy. But it was at the hand of 5 cops that were black. What a day. If you are in the United States right now or anywhere around the world that had strict COVID stuff, it hit everybody by storm and it consumed every minute of your life for about 2 years. You know, you couldn't go places, you couldn't go hang out with family in certain countries, you couldn't travel to see family beyond certain points for your safety, of course. Right. And so now that all the dust has settled and everything is passed, we keep hearing more and more about the companies that helped facilitate this and help create the products that you were forced with your taxpayer dollars to purchase from the government. Right. So we've got all of this that's happened. And now anything that comes out about these companies is like swept under the rug when they wanted all of this front and center for 2 years. And then now everything that's happening afterwards, it's almost like a guy and a girl were fighting. The girl ran outside with a megaphone and was like, everybody, look, he hit me. And so every day for a month, you had to hear this woman on a megaphone screaming, he hit me. It's so serious. And then
everyone paid attention.
Everybody paid attention.
Put all the resources.
And it changed every single one of their days.
And put all their resources, time, money, effort, everything.
Right.
Gave up everything.
And then now the guy is telling his side of the story about what was happening.
Yeah.
And they just keep shoving it underneath the table as quick as they can.
That's such
and
a
it's
good
like,
analogy.
I need to hear the whole thing. And you should be just as vigilant about hearing the whole thing, regardless of how exhausted you are. Trust me, I'm exhausted too. Me and Tina have to put our nose in this poop every day and sort through it and go, oh yeah, okay, it actually is rotten. So we get it, okay? But you should be just as vigilant about this side of things now as you were during COVID so that you can prevent it, number one, from happening again. And then number two, hold people accountable that did evil things. And so I'm not saying anybody did an evil thing, but I will say that Pfizer, after Project Veritas, sent a brilliant undercover boy underneath.
Was it a boy? Was it a guy?
Yeah, the guy's gay.
Okay.
Of course he's gay.
I watched the caption of it. I've watched caption videos of it, but not like the sound yet. So I was like, it was so everybody was doing
it's a dude.
Of it
And that's why he kept saying I was on a date and I was lying. You know, and then you look and it's like everything he said was true.
You saw
though.
Like his eyes too when he was talking about the things that almost.
Do you
was
remember
like
what he did?
maniacal.
He literally broke the dude's iPad and everything. Did you see the freak out?
No.
Okay, so for everybody listening, let me explain what happened. Project Veritas, that is a consistent undercover. You know, they're the people who went in and showed that Amy Roebuck had from ABC had the Jeffrey Epstein story years ago, and that the ABC and the powers that be smashed the story, right? So that's one of Project Veritas's feather in their caps. Okay. These people are known for getting insider videos of people doing things that are obviously wrong, like when they said when they went undercover with CNN, the executive producer or whatever his name was,
stuff that basically the mainstream media has tried to suppress, and that Veritas goes in and gets it right from the source.
Right,
so
goes to the CNN. He went to the
Right.
CNN executive director, and he was like, "If it bleeds, it leads.
Right.
We want that death ticker higher, so we can get that fear."
Yep.
And so we caught this guy saying
and
this.
This is stuff that we were saying. It's
Right.
stuff that we are saying that were what would they call it? Conspiracies. Oh my gosh.
Right. These things are conspiracies.
They're real.
And then Project Veritas will go in and basically expose it. And traditionally, the way that they do it is they have a person and they pretend like they're on a date, with the other person, and then the person starts blabbing. They have some drinks, and then they just record it. So the same thing happened to a Pfizer executive. His name was Jordan Walker. Is that right? Something like that. Anyway, the fella Jordan, whatever. So he's basically explaining in this video that Pfizer will actually mutate, which they call directed evolution, the viruses themselves, so that they can create future new vaccines for variants that may come out. Another word for that is
gain of function.
I didn't say that. Tina's not saying that's for sure. We're just saying that was the alleged thing, is that's pretty much the same thing as gain of function, right?
So let's break it down though, because I had
an issue
with this. Well,
so
what is
Pfizer,
gain of function?
Well, gain of function is essentially
is I didn't know this for a while, so
right. So gain of function is basically when you take a virus and then you try to break it down so that you can use it for something else, or that
make it stronger.
Make it stronger, right? Make it.
They're like, no, that's from a movie. We're not supposed to be doing that. Right. That's basically what the government said. That no, we don't want like some crazy outbreak.
Well, because remember, Rand Paul was telling Fauci, you're doing gain of function research in Wuhan and all that other stuff, and he was like, no, we're not. And then he pulled up the literal paper that said, their own paper that said gain of function at the top. And he was like, it says it, but it's not it. It's actually not that, or whatever. And so anyway, like
that's what gain of function is.
That was the point of it. Right. So anyway, once this all happens, Project Veritas, often after they have somebody undercover on a video, they will send a second reporter a few days later to confront the person that's in the video to go, how are you guys lying about this stuff? Explain us what you meant by this. So anyway, James O'Keefe goes to the guy Jordan and sits down with him and goes, hey, here's the video of you saying these things. And he's like, oh my God, is this real life? Is this, I can't believe this. I'm surrounded. Hello, police. He calls the police. He goes, I'm surrounded by 5 white people right now, and I just feel under threat. And James goes, what does race have to do with anything? And then he ends up taking the Project Veritas iPad and slamming it on the ground. I don't know what he's thinking, but I mean, 100% breaking the iPad and everything, right? Because he's so whatevered in this scenario.
Of course.
And then they dig into it. Pfizer releases a statement after Pfizer tries to get it to be covered up more. They release an internal document that got leaked to guess who? Project Veritas, right? They got it leaked, and it basically said, here's the 10 ways or whatever. Here's a couple ways that we can get this thing flagged to be taken down. Is there any misinformation in the video that we can get it taken down for? That's what they were doing. So they tried to get it taken down, right? So anyway, then they finally release a statement, and the statement basically says, we're not doing gain of function research. And then in the third paragraph of their release, it basically says they're kind of doing something very, it's called directed evolution, where they change the thing themselves. Now, so anyway, that is the bombshell for this week, everybody. The biggest story in history about, and now this is the same company that has the largest criminal fine in U.S. history, $2.3, I believe, billion fine for defrauding the public or something like that. So that's who we're talking about, everybody. And then he also talks about, this guy Jordan also talked about all of the people that are in positions of power in the government eventually go to work for Pfizer afterwards. So those people are not harsh on Pfizer when the regulators essentially, right? And so this was a bombshell because we all knew this was happening. It's a revolving door between the government and the big companies. Didn't we show this?
Wait a minute. I feel like we either showed this or one of us put it on our Instagrams that the head of the FDA or former head of the FDA is now a huge top-notch CEO at Pfizer or vice versa.
Yes, that happens. I don't know if it's CEO, but you're talking. Yeah, you're talking about this person who's the head of the whatever goes over here right afterwards and becomes the head of the thing that he approved or whatever. It happens all the time.
Yeah, and
it's a train wreck. Well, so this was a bombshell because it exposes everything that we've thought to be true, except it's significantly worse. Because the thing is, if they're mutating things, it can spread, right? Which is how it happened.
When they're making
in Wuhan, as they were mutating it, or whatever to do things with it, and then it got out. Whoopsies,
Whoopsie daisies. Yeah.
Which even here's the funny thing: the dude Jordan says that's what happened in Wuhan.
Oh
He says
my
it.
gosh.
He goes, they were doing the thing in Wuhan, and like it doesn't make any sense that it would have just come from nature. He's on a date, right?
Yeah,
So he's like,
and
it
he's
doesn't make
like-
any sense. Trust me, that doesn't make any sense. It like, oh, it was probably this. Like it was a whole full blown like perfect
showing
video.
off. We came up with a bad idea. Oh my gosh, that was such a riot. We picked names out of a hat and we said we're gonna blame a bat, guys. Like that's how it felt.
Right.
How he was
When
showing
he was
it
saying
off.
it, right.
Yes, it very very nonchalantly. How many
Now,
lives
all
were
of this
destroyed.
information that we're saying is our opinion of what's happening in the news right
allegedly.
now. Okay. So, thank you, Project Veritas,
do
for
we
at
wanna
least
bring
showing
up-
this. And then what do you want to bring up?
The actual article so they can see the
What
Daily Mail.
Pfizer's release?
Yeah, Pfizer admits to engineering.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just so they can see it real quick. Here it is. Right there, Daily Mail UK. Pfizer admits engineering COVID mutants in lab studies to ensure its antiviral drug works on the new variants, but pharma giant insists tests were not, quote, gain of function and did not pose risk to public. There's the proof. It's out in mainstream. You know how some people try to say that, oh, just because like smaller journalists or Instagram journalists or whatever they call them.
Independent little
Independent,
small
thank
time
you.
journalists.
Yes, who are good people like Jorge Rivera or Ventura?
Yeah,
His name?
Jorge.
Jorge Ventura.
We can have him on the show sometime if you want.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I can
He's
bring
awesome.
him on.
Like, he's
he
one of
came
the
on
first
Speak Truth
ones.
Without Fear a couple of times.
Really?
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. He's one of the first like independent journalists I started following. And
For the
like,
border
for real,
stuff.
For real. I mean, he is there.
He's there at the
Like,
border.
for real.
He collects the bracelets for all the sex trafficked girls.
Oh yeah, I saw
He's
that.
like, look, I've got 50 bracelets. Don't tell me that the cartels, and they're all different colored for depending on which cartel is allowed to bring them over. So
Gosh.
it's just a ridiculous, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, this is to prove, though, showing this article is to prove that it is on your mainstream media. You know, some people try to say, well, it wasn't on CNN. Well, here it is.
Right.
No, it's especially frustrating because, you know, look at all the fallout from it. Let's go ahead and put the jab aside, Pfizer and the jab. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But what about the fallout from lives that were ruined by the lockdowns themselves? You know, they're trying to bring back masks in some areas.
Yeah, I saw
like,
that.
It's not over. Like when you were in the beginning saying like, oh, for 2 years, but now we're in the clear. No, they keep trying to bring it back.
They keep trying.
And
yeah.
I think hopefully this is the I guess smoking gun. I don't know if that's the right analogy for it.
Or maybe
to
the
kinda-
straw that broke the camel's back for the
people
public's
to say
trust.
no.
Yeah, well, you know, look, I've been thinking about this for a while, and it's almost like every time that we come up with a new thing that
Mhm.
me and you or people who are trying to learn the truth, every time I have to go do research to figure out what really happened, I'm like, I need to be putting this in a binder somewhere so that I can quick reference this like Kayleigh McElhaney used to do or whatever
Right,
with Trump,
right.
you know? I haven't done it yet, but I'm like, I need to because they're going to rewrite history about all of this. And if I don't have
agree.
the record of this.
Save all the videos
Yeah.
of them talking themselves.
Yeah. And so that's the thing, man, is like, I look at this and I'm like, this is another example. Like I had, what's Stephen Petty? I watched his videos. He's an industrial hygienist. He's the person that basically he gets fired if he doesn't know how to limit exposure to different toxins and stuff like that in the atmosphere. He is paid to be a hygienist industrially.
Okay.
So he has to figure out what can and cannot stop the spread of different things. It's his job,
Mhm.
right? And so when they have respirators listed on their diagram for when he gives talks about this to other industrial hygienists, and when he's saying, hey, if you're going to try to limit exposure to asbestos or this or this or this or whatever, here's the different things you can put on your face to do it. It's like you got one of them ones that's like an actual face mask.
Right.
That's like the full-blown suction cup
Yeah,
to your
yeah.
face with a little vent onto the side.
You look like
That's a legitimate respirator, right? And then at the very, very bottom, the worst possible scenario is an N95. And it is the last one of the respirators that they're even like, fine, if you got to be somewhere for 8 minutes, it'll kind of work. And that's only if it doesn't move more than 2% on a perfectly trimmed face with
and you have
no
to fit
beard,
it properly.
perfect fitting,
Yeah.
the whole 9 yards. Can't move more than 2% when it's
Not
on.
too much oil on your face. You got to wipe it down with
Yeah,
alcohol.
not touched with any hands, not touched with nothing. And like
Not
that
at
will
the bottom
work
of your car.
for a very short amount of time. But the blue cloth, they're not even on the
Nothing.
thing. They're not even on it because they don't do anything. Meaning, according to industrial hygienists, they don't do enough for it to even matter, right? So anyway, that's another thing that I'm saying. Like there is so much of this that we look back at now and I can be like, this is total BS. and
But they ruin people's lives.
but they
over it.
ruin people's lives over it. Think about how many.
Livelihoods.
I look around now, and I go. I was in Target the other day, and this employee, she's probably 27, 28, young black girl, and she was just wearing a mask.
I know.
And I was like,
so many.
I stopped her. I was like, hey, it's just me and you here. I was like, so don't take this offensively, because I you know how some people are, right?
Yeah.
So I was just like, look, I was like, I've looked at a lot of information about how successful these things are at doing what you're hoping that it's doing for you right now, and it's not. And she was just like, really? And I was like, yeah. I was like, it doesn't do what they've told.
So she was receptive?
She was receptive.
Okay, see,
and she was like, she even thanked me. She was like, thank you for, she kept it on because it was a little awkward.
Right.
But she was like, thank you for telling me that. I have been wondering, this and that and this and that. And then another girl that was working there that didn't have a mask on was like, she chimed in after I left and was like, yeah, don't feel like you have to wear it or something like that. And I was just like, man, this is what we need.
Wait a minute. Oh my gosh. Then that's a testament to what you're saying is that they are literally being spoon-fed because she was receptive to it. It sounds like she was receptive to it. So that's a perfect example. She believes the BS she's being fed probably in school.
And didn't read part 2. She heard the girl with the megaphone screaming about the getting beat up by her boyfriend or whatever. Right. And then when the boyfriend tells his side, she doesn't listen. Because she didn't have time or the media didn't put it in front of her.
It's blocked.
Right.
I think it's blocked mostly because look at even normal independent journalists who are saying, fine, if the mainstream doesn't want to do it, we'll report it. And what happened?
They get blocked.
Yes.
Look at the virologist. Look at the person who created the mRNA vaccine technology, Robert Malone. He gets blocked. The former vice president of Pfizer gets blocked. Yes.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah. What's his name? Dang it. What's his name? John.
I'll look him up.
Yearney.
Oh, by the way, the whole
Yancey,
name.
Something.
The whole name of that guy, just because I want to put his whole name out here. For the Pfizer guy is Jordan Tristan Walker.
Okay,
Pfizer
so it was
Director
Jordan
of
Walker.
Research.
Okay, good.
Yeah. No, you were right. Yeah, I just wanted to tell you.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I'll look up that VP from Pfizer.
John Nancy, something. Yearney.
I'll look it up.
Yearney. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He even said stay away from the thing. But anyway, so I remember when the two doctors, the two, 45-year-old good-looking doctors were sitting down at the table and they were discussing immunology and how viruses do whatever. And they got deleted off of Twitter, before Elon bought it. That was like one of the first things that I saw.
Or when they did what was that panel of doctors that was made? They went to Washington, D.C.
With all the white coats on out front. Yes, I remember.
What was the name of that group? I can't remember.
Frontline.
Something like
CCC.
that. Right.
Something.
And they were sitting.
Peter McCullough, one of the most, McCullough or whatever his last name is. He was one of the most published respiratory doctors in the United States. He's one of the most, like if you read about respiratory crap, you're reading his textbook.
Right.
And he's like, this is not right. He was censored.
Really?
Oh yeah. They kicked him off of everything, man.
I didn't know he was that. I mean, of course there are many doctors involved.
Paul Merrick, same thing. One of the most published doctors in his field. He was talking about it. He got censored off of everything, got fired from Centera for trying to give people ivermectin. He had old ladies there holding signs saying he saved my life with ivermectin,
Really?
and they wouldn't let him keep giving people vitamin C and ivermectin.
Yes. Because
it was crazy.
Contacted us about that. Actually, somebody's, I think, sister or sister-in-law passed away because of that. They were like, all we're asking, they won't let the doctor give vitamin C or something like that. And she was reaching out for help. This is a while ago. And that person passed. One person barely got through, or one person had to go to another hospital because there were several people who contacted us with that. With what it was happening, and they were all Centera hospitals.
Yeah, well, so you've got all these scenarios where they're basically stopping people's ability to get any information, and they're saying it's for your safety.
Right.
And it doesn't appear
go back to where we were.
And so it doesn't appear to be that that's the case. What appears to be true is that the largest contributor to all of these platforms that ban and media outlets that ban is the largest media, or the largest donor that they have is traditionally
Big pharma.
It's a fox in the hen house through and through in most of these scenarios.
Have you ever heard? I've heard this a couple times within the last couple years, and paid attention to it. Europeans think it's strange that we have commercials on our television
for medicines,
for medications. They think that's the strangest thing, and it's so funny because I never stopped to think of that phrase, and I'm like, I think it's weird that you don't, because look how long they've been doing it. Look how long they've been doing it in our country.
Are you sad and depressed? Well, maybe soliloquy.
Just
maybe soliloquy, or whatever. And then all of a sudden it's rainbows and the guy's riding his bike happy. And then all of a sudden there's the guy, could have anal seepage, anal seepage, suicidal thoughts. Anal seepage, suicidal thoughts, marriage, divorce, it's just like 50 things. And you're like, that's way worse, But yes. And then they say, consult your doctor. It might be right for you. And then these pharmacy reps will go to the doctor and go, hey,
you get a little extra.
Here's a little bit of things if you decide to push our thing, or whatever. And it's like all of this just keeps happening. So that's number one. We've got this huge story that's breaking right now. And we've got Pfizer basically in the crosshairs of this, trying to scramble to figure out what they're going to do. And
well, you know what it basically looks like, right? It almost looks like now to the layman person, which we've been basically saying this, that they engineered it to give you the cure, to sell you the cure. And now they're continuing to make it worse so that you can continue getting that engineered cure. That's what they're doing.
Let's talk about that.
Now it looks like
in 2017, Pfizer purchased Eliquis.
Now, what is Eliquis? You were telling me about this earlier.
Eliquis is the a top 5 medicine in the United States for thinning blood.
Do you want to know something? It's funny that you said that. When my family member came and moved up here, had to change, he's on a lot of medications, had to change all his medications to a doctor here. They took him off the blood thinner that's been working fine for him all this time, many years on a lot of medicines, and changed it to Eliquis. Yep. I specifically remember getting the bottle because he gets it in the mail. And I saw the bottle looked different and it was freaking Eliquis.
Yeah, Pfizer.
The first thing they didn't know him, didn't blood test him, nothing.
Right.
Maybe took his blood pressure when he walked into the office. First thing they did.
Yeah, change it on over to the thing that's got the patent on it still so we can get the money out of it.
That just came to my head when you said Eliquis again. I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, so Eliquis, now here's the interesting thing. Pfizer said that Eliquis would be a top 5 drug in the United States in 2017. What's interesting is that there was no way to figure out that there was going to be an uptick in the amount of people that had nanolipid particles which thicken your blood and cause blood clots. There was no way to know that, which is from a jab or two, right? That all of a sudden now they sell you the cure to the problem that they may have created, right? So we've got this going on. And at the end of the day, basically everybody, is that you are at a stage now where if you don't know what to do, you cannot listen to the people that are paid to tell you what to do. You have to listen to a lot of things and decide for yourself what you should do. Talk to your doctor. If your doctor doesn't know anything about nutrition, get a different doctor. Okay. I'm seeing this a lot. I've gone to a lot of different doctors over the last 2 years, and a lot of them have no comments about nutrition to me.
Nope.
A lot of them will just say, well, that depends on what this is looking like, and your weight's a little bit high, and here's some ways you could do better with that, and you could eat some rice, and I'll be like, what kind of rice should I get? I'm testing them to see if they know what's in. What levels of arsenic do you think's in the common white rice? I'm asking them questions that I already know the answer to. I'm not even a doctor, and I'm just going, what do you know? And none of them know even half of what I know. And I'm not even a smart guy. My wife is the one that does all the research. And so don't listen to just everybody, guys. You need to go figure out what to do without the help of somebody who's getting paid to push something. So if you're in America and you've got bad health and you've got 15 different medications, you need to be careful because you are technically the funnel and the funding source for the world right now. Like the way that it works traditionally is that in the United States, we pay significantly more than other countries do for our same exact medicines because we fund all of the shit that those companies are going to go do after you buy their product, right? So then they go and they do all this other crazy research for other things that has nothing to do with actually helping you. And all of it is basically a race to see who gets the patent and who can sell you the stuff at the highest price, the easiest. At least something like that. I'm losing my train of thought because you want to keep talking, and I'm like, I want to talk too, but I'm trying to conclude this segment. I was gonna say.
Oh well, I was gonna actually help you segue in, and see that's why you have a co-host.
Okay.
I was gonna help you segue into.
Go ahead.
Look at because of now the down.
This chick just want to keep talking.
This chick just wants to keep talking.
Okay, no, go ahead. You're fine.
So now.
The downstream trickle now that we're dealing with. I could tell you're gonna make the funny voice again.
I'm not. My hand's just over here.
Anyway, that's actually a perfect segue into the other thing that we were going to talk about. Really, talking about Pfizer, talking about them wanting you dependent on this, but it's not giving you anything bad. They're trying to say that the jab is completely safe. It's allegedly completely safe. And here we're seeing people like having all these young athletes. Did you see today a 19-year-old swimming instructor had a heart attack? Come on, people.
Pull up that sheet of all the stuff that gives you blood clots now.
Yes, and they're
pull
blaming
this up.
Everything.
Now I want you guys to see the people that pay the most money to the media outlets. Those same media outlets are telling you what's giving you blood clots, okay? And it's about 75 different things at this point. Black tea's one of them, getting too hot's one of them. Lots of different things. But I want you to pull this up, Tina.
Yeah, it's up. Here you go. All right, we got
skipping
breakfast.
Skipping breakfast will give you heart issues.
What's this one here? Lonely older women at greater
being
risk
a lonely older women.
Well,
That's right, feminists.
All right, let's see.
Get married. I'm just kidding. Climate change.
It's hurting the baby's hearts.
Yes, the babies wake up and they go, "Oh God, it's so hot out here. I die."
Silly us.
Silly
right?
us. We're so stupid.
Let's see. Expert warns shoveling snow.
Oh, shoveling. So also if it's too hot, and then also if you're doing anything when it's really cold, like shoveling snow. What else?
A drink, the little known heart attack that's striking fit, healthy women as young as 22. Why would they need? Oh, wow. Falling asleep with the TV.
Oh, that explains everybody. Yeah.
Oh, gardeners, if you're gardening.
Yes, that makes sense.
Too hot at night? Those people without ACs in the Caribbean are really gonna have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh my God. I hope Africa's okay. Oh, wait a minute. They're doing better than everybody with COVID. They don't seem to care about how hot it is.
The noise from living under a flight path. Okay.
Well, so guys, if all of that's giving you blood clots, imagine 5G and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and what they're doing. Bye. Just kidding.
Oh. I mean, it's what you said. It's what you said. The media, almost all of them, are purchased to see these ludicrous articles, and they're literally peeing on our leg and telling us that it's raining.
Right. Look, whatever it is, it's not the vaccine.
Right.
That's definitely not it.
It's
we know
change.
for a fact it's not it.
They literally are making people who are at the altar of CNN and NBC, like they believe them.
Yeah.
And making
they're
them
making
go,
them
wait a minute.
victims.
Or no, they're making even them. They're finally starting to wake up with all these bombshell like revelations and undercover videos. And even they're starting to go, wait a minute. Like the people we thought we'd never wake up.
Right.
They're starting to go,
Well, you know, what's interesting is that when you don't allow, if you want, you know, China was having a meeting with some other country, and the other country was talking about whether or not they should persecute the Christian church. And China was like, don't do it. They're like, don't do it. It's like a spider with babies. If you smash it, it spreads like crazy. So they're like, don't do it. You know, and I think that's the same thing about information.
That's interesting.
Because information, you know, if you start smashing it, the thing is about people is that we're rebellious by nature.
Yes.
We are. You know what I'm saying? So like if you tell me something so many times, I start to be like,
right.
Who are you talking to, bitch? You know what I'm saying?
Your homeowners association telling you not to put the can somewhere, but you just kind of like a little bit put the can there.
Right.
Like,
I put it right next to it. It's not exactly what you said. Oh, is that in the bylaw? Can you show me that? You know, let me see the bylaws, you know, or whatever. Right. But it's, you know, that's the thing though, is when they start telling you that like whatever happens, it's definitely not this. And then you have equally credentialed medical experts on the other side that are saying the opposite thing. If you've got expert A who is credentialed and expert B who is credentialed saying opposite things, unfortunately, world, that means you have to go think for yourself for a second and figure out what you should believe, right? That's unfortunate for a lot of people because they don't want to have to do that, but you do actually have to do that today, unfortunately, because there are so many things that are paid to tell you and only show you half of the story because they can generate more revenue that way. Or in some cases, they can generate something that's more important than revenue, which is control.
Right. And honestly, you know, the fact that some people aren't seeing it as a bad thing, that we can't hear the other side of things, that they're censoring these people on social media and there's no discourse. Well, that's how we move ahead, because what if there was no discourse, we'd still be burning women at like stakes and saying that they're witches because they, you know, someone got sick or whatever. You know what I mean? If we didn't have discourse to be like, oh, wait a minute, you know, maybe this isn't such a good idea.
Yeah, that's obviously stupid or bad.
Right.
You know?
But there was discourse over it. They're trying to take discourse away. That should alarm everyone. That we're not saying just, why can't we at least talk about it? You can't even talk about it.
Right. You can't even talk about it.
You can't even mention
until
it.
2 years later. Like, remember when YouTube removed that
Yes.
you used to be able to not allowed to say that masks are questionable about whether they're effective or not. That sentence would get us banned. Now it doesn't. Right. 2 years after the fact, after everybody, after the collective IQ of the nation essentially went down by 20 points, now we're allowed to say masks might not actually do the thing that we thought they were going to do. You know, meanwhile, all of our, like, they were talking about the kids' IQ and about like mothers breastfeeding. Like, I remember those stupid freaking ads that were saying if you're breastfeeding and you're not covering your face, you might be harming your baby.
No.
And it's like your baby is getting most of its like emotional learning from your facial expressions. That's all it has. Imagine taking that away from a little itty bitty baby and their mother when they're breastfeeding. I watch my wife breastfeed our kids and I look at her, look at them while they're doing it. And there is a connection there that is so unique and special. And obviously to anybody that's got eyeballs, I know nothing about development, but I know if they couldn't see half of her face.
Yeah, we smile, we do this, we do that. We like chimpanzees, like same thing. Like they had very expressive. If they had to go like that, their species wouldn't exist. Like
right, they wouldn't be able to communicate,
or they wouldn't be able to thrive how they have been, you know, in conservation areas.
Yeah. So anyway, all this to say, be wary of what you hear.
Yeah, it's honestly.
Have you heard about ChatGPT?
Yeah, we talked about it last time.
We did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We talked about it last time.
Go watch the last episode, everybody.
Yeah, no, it's
not
crazy.
only do they want to control what's in your blood, they want to think before you think and give you the conclusion.
Right.
You know, and they programmed it essentially to be a woke, you know, socialist.
Yeah.
It's like RoboCop. It really is like a woke RoboCop. Get ready.
That's going to be awful.
It's a matter of time.
And we were talking earlier about the, what was it? City of San Francisco said that the robots could, what was the exact
They
law?
were allowed to use lethal. The robots were allowed to use lethal stuff under certain circumstances. They could go against humans or whatever. Now they rescinded it now. Because of public outrage. Right. But okay. They'll repackage it in a different bill 6 months from now. And it'll be like only under severe circumstances for racial justice.
Right.
Because they're going to look at all these police killings.
That's what I said.
And
like,
they're going to remember Tommy Vexed?
Yeah.
He was talking about they're calling all the police racist. He's like, you know what's not racist? Robots.
Yeah.
Don't you want robots to replace your police force?
No, I think you're right. I didn't even think of that. Like I was truly like mind blown. It didn't even like some stuff kind of comes into my lexicon when I think of like things, but I
hadn't thought of that.
I didn't even come
Me neither.
close.
Tommy's the first one that said it, and I was like, "Ooh, that does make sense."
I was like, and the thing, what I was gonna say was the reason why San Francisco put that out. I read somewhere that they have rolled out a program where they have put some mechanisms and machines in the area more for like police observation and things like that, but could be upgraded. Like it's like little dome robots that can look around like that and stuff like that. But it could be upgraded with a weapon system on it. Like, oh, somebody's trying to rob you at the middle of the crosswalk or whatever. Like, stop, you know, and it could turn and say, you know.
Yeah, that's what'll happen. More like as soon as you jaywalk Stop.
Yeah.
We already facial recognized you.
We have
Stop.
charged you. Yeah.
You know, it's already, we already charged your credit card. You know,
Oh my gosh.
we already have
are
it.
There.
It's on your Apple ID. We already took the money from you.
We are there.
We're there. Facial recognition. The Samsung facial recognition that you did on your phone 6 weeks ago to be able to open your phone is the same thing we used. I mean, it's not far at all.
At all.
And the thing about it is well, let's talk about that. They are trying to push this cop racial narrative so hard
with the new Tyre Nichols.
Yeah, so we got Tyre Nichols killed by 5 black men, and somehow this is white supremacy.
And now, 3 days later, his causes of death: heart attack and kidney failure. That's another important thing. Yes, heart attack and kidney failure were his causes of death.
Tyre Nichols,
yes,
has heart attack and kidney failure.
Yes,
as causes of death.
Yes, I'll bring it up. I don't know if
I thought he was dead against the car.
No, he was standing when I think for at the end of it and everything. Yeah, if you watch the whole video.
Oh.
Yeah, I watched most of the body cam, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He
wonder
died
if
3 days later, but they really did. There was definitely like times like, oh gosh, but you could tell they were so
heart
angry.
attack and kidney failure. Oh, I'm not saying this is what happened, but if you were a person attempting to get national outrage to occur, like the FBI does sometimes, right? Then imagine sneaking into a hospital room and just putting a little something into something and then, kidney failure and heart attack. You know what I'm saying? Now this is a way bigger deal. Now it's a national murder. This is George Floyd 2.0.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying they did that, but I'm saying I wouldn't put it past these bastards.
I wouldn't put it past them either because he was still alive. I think they were probably
didn't the FBI admit the other week that the CIA was involved with JFK's murder?
Yes.
Like, are we saying these people wouldn't do the same damn thing to basically cause uproar?
Yeah. What's the thing?
Ridiculous.
What's the post? Your Instagram post? This one.
These were diversity hires too, everybody, I believe.
This is the Instagram post.
Pull this up. We want to read it. Read this out loud, Tina.
Okay. According to a source within the Memphis PD, the 5 charged officers weren't hired through the usual structured PD hiring process. City leaders felt that the existing process was too strict and kept certain people from getting jobs at the department. City leaders began their own hiring process and then pushed new hires into the agency, bypassing the testing procedures in place at the department. You can read between the lines what that all means. All 5 of our charged officers were hired by the city and didn't go through the rigorous PD testing process. Wow. This is what quota hiring looks like. Lawsuits and dead innocents. The city should pay the lawsuits instead of the police department. And this is somebody's post. This murder wasn't created
by old school policing or by white supremacy. This murder was directly facilitated by liberal hiring policies, basically, for police officers. So they put in this ordinance, apparently, and this could be total BS. I don't know. I mean, it's chief of police.
No, remember I told
this person's chief of police, Karen Palmer, she's chief of police and a veteran army officer. So she's not just a bullshitter.
Remember when I told you it was a unit and it was called the Scorpion unit. When the news
and they were supposed to be hard in Memphis, right?
Yes, because it's so bad. And now they had the new chief of police, the new woman, and they're trying to say this is white supremacy. Isn't that a Democratic stronghold where everybody from the top down is Democrat in leadership? Memphis, Tennessee? Yes.
Yeah, Memphis is Democrat.
It's all Democrat. So I don't know. And they're somehow saying this is an arm of white supremacy. Did you see today that they are trying to say, look, finally they fired a white cop because there was a white cop, I guess, involved in the very beginning.
It's like the dispatch guy. We have a black male on the run down south or whatever. We're going to try to figure out where he's at.
Right.
It's like he got fired. He's like, what? I was just relaying the information from the screen. You know?
Basically, this guy, he had the taser on him. He had the taser, a handheld on him, and he was trying to get him to let go or
the
whatever.
White cop had a taser out, was not deploying the taser, but was threatening to deploy.
Yeah, he had it against his skin. Yeah, I think he did deploy it a couple times, but he was fighting him the whole time. And
well, look, the big 5,000-pound gorilla in the room about every one of these stories. Every single one of them. There's a few exceptions. Walter Scott is an exception, where a cop literally just murders a guy, right? For outright no reason, right? But even in that scenario, Walter Scott did run. I'm not saying he should have or shouldn't have, but the cop shouldn't have done that. But either way, what I'm saying is when a police officer pulls me over, a white male, even I've done this since 2008. I've done this. I roll my window all the way down right when the police officer pulls me over. I put both of my hands, not on the steering wheel, I put them out of the window because I don't want the police officer on edge about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to submit entirely to what they have to say. And I try to record the entire incident because I do know my constitutional rights. And if they step over them, I'm going to let them know that they stepped over them. But I'm going to fight them in court and sue them for $40,000 or something. I'm not going to fight with them there.
Right.
And even if they're hurting me, because look,
That's
police
more
officers will put their knee on your back and look, if you haven't been in a situation like that in a long time, it is not comfortable. You know what I mean? They'll put all their weight on one of your bones and you're like, this hurts so bad.
Yeah, they know how to twist.
They know how to twist the thing to make everything hurt. And it's like, they mean to hurt you.
But they're just trying to get you to comply.
Right. But they're trying to get you to comply. Now, sometimes, obviously, they had a bad day. You hired a bunch of dummies with woke policies and maybe they want to do more than make you have a bad day, or whatever. But either way, you don't fight there ever because they have guns. And if it escalates, if you help it escalate, if you're dumb enough to help it escalate they can kill you. So even the hands up, don't shoot thing, that was an entirely a lie. 100%. It was said by a felon, but every one of these stories, name one, Trayvon Martin, the Ashburn guy, you name them, all of them have some story about, so this wasn't just happy-go-lucky fella. Oh, he shot him. You know, I mean, that one where the white woman officer thought she had her taser out and she accidentally shot the guy. That was poor training. But she actually did just shoot the guy.
She felt bad.
But I think he was fleeing.
He was gonna run him over. He could have killed them. He could have killed them because when they were halfway in his car.
Right. Well,
you can kill a police officer doing that. Technically.
Well, so either way, how come none of these stories are like, well, there I was just minding my own business, enjoying a popsicle outside. And then an officer came up and said, put your hands up. And then I put my hands up and I said, yes, sir. What else would you like me to do? And then they said, don't run. And then I sat there. How many of these stories do people get shot? It's less than whatever. I remember in 2019 when the George Floyd situation happened and then people were like, the BLM really went crazy. I remember putting a poll up, I think, and I said, it was just a question I asked people that were super animated about the whole scenario. And I said to them, how many people do you think the police, unarmed black people, the police kill per year? Is it over 10,000, over 1,000 or what? And they would be like, yeah, I think it's probably over 10,000. And I was like, the number's 19.
Yeah.
It's between 14 and 19.
Only nine
of them were actually unarmed. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean they didn't fight with the cop.
Right.
Right.
Truly.
And it was just so we're talking about and then I made the analogy. I was like 1,000 people a month die by stairs alone.
Right.
In the US, 1,000 people a month die from stairs. And here we are grinding the entire law enforcement ideology to a halt. And we're saying literally defund the police.
Yeah, throw it out. Just get rid of it.
Look, and unarmed white people die more than unarmed black people do. Now, it's because there's a population discrepancy. I'm not even whatever. That's not the point. The point is I have reason to be mad about it too. Okay. And I'm not saying that there isn't some racist cops out there that do stuff, but I'm saying the right way to do things is to beat these bastards in court and take their badge and take their money and make them lose their qualified immunity. If it's wrongful,
if it's actually wrongful.
But whatever happens, don't fight them. Don't resist. Don't run. And don't, fight with them.
You know what? I just thought about it. They tried to get this same race thing going on did you hear about the 13-year-old? I think he was 13. Yeah. That died. He was shot by a homeowner that ran out there, a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old. It was 1:30 in the morning, stealing cars and stole had break-ins and they were breaking people's windows and, they take stuff out of the cars, steal the cars. And a guy came out and shot him and then realized, oh my God, it's a 13-year-old kid. And the 10-year-old kid was in the passenger seat of the stolen car, tried to do CPR. He died on the scene. And, they tried to get this race thing going, but the problem is that they did not know the race of the guy who shot, it was a black guy and he's a government employee.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, so they tried to, though. They tried to say, well,
of course.
well,
And then I bet you as soon as everybody find out about this, the story went away.
It's kind of, you
never mind.
Yeah, they tried to. They almost did. And they had people at town hall because they hadn't announced who it was because he was a government employee. I think that's why they were keeping his identity like
on the DL.
On the DL. Yeah. But like they had people at town halls. It was starting to ramp up and they're like, well, wait. It was a black guy. Like, yeah, they basically had to say that. And then it just disappeared.
I had a couple people that I used to talk to on Facebook in the Messenger app, or whatever, that I'd be chatting with. And they were like, me and this guy used to go back and forth all the time. And it was just like such an uneducated conversation every single time. It was like literally talking to somebody that was covering their ears and screaming CNN chants, and it was just like, I had to block him after a while because I was like, dude, I can't even go back and forth with you because you don't even pay attention to anything I say. Like, he would be like, look, they did the same thing in North Carolina, and he would have like 3%. Like every time he'd bring up a story, I would know the story better than he did already, but he would be emotionally animated about it. Right. But I just have a rule whenever I'm dealing with people that are of a different persuasion than me. I go, hey, during these conversations, you're only allowed to be as emotionally outraged about a subject as you are knowledgeable about that subject.
Right.
Isn't that a fair rule?
Right.
Like if you don't know a lot about something, you shouldn't be that upset about it yet.
It feels like the less they know, the more upset they are. You're right. That's a good point.
So I always just say the degree that you know of information is the degree that you can have the emotion about it. Okay.
Right.
I usually start my conversations with somebody on the other side with me like that, because I go, well, look, if I know more than you even do, like,
you can't be that upset.
You can't be that upset. Yeah. You don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just fair to say that,
Yeah.
And that seemed to help calm some stuff down, but it was like text interchanges, and text is the absolute worst way to communicate with anybody. So,
right. I can't do inflection.
And I tried to help this guy for 2 years to see what was happening. And it literally for 2 years, my wife would be like, why are you texting this guy again? Because I'd be like, I'm trying to help him,
like wake up.
He doesn't get it, bro.
No.
And I couldn't help him. Now, if he was in person, which I offered him probably 10 times, I said, bro, come have chicken wings with me. Let's go get some beer. Let's go hang out. I'll explain everything. I'll explain exactly what I think, and you'll agree with me at the end of it. He would never meet in person. He would never meet with me.
They want to stay, la, 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 like you said, just covering their ears and saying, la, 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 la.
But then one time he kind of showed his hand, and he was just like, yeah, I think that there needs to be concentration camps for everybody to prevent evil. And I was like,
oh my
yikes.
God.
Yeah, I don't know. You're crazy. This is the worthless conversation because you're just nuts. And then
you were going to have those people, you're going to have some people that are just so far.
They want safety rather than freedom.
Or not just that, they want concentration camps for crying out loud.
He literally said that. He literally said, I think everybody should be in concentration camps to avoid stuff like this. And I was like, you idiot. Do you know how much more terrible things will happen if something like, he didn't get it. But that's what I'm saying. I'm talking to like low IQ situation. And I'm like, okay, this is a worthless I'm throwing my pearls to swine every time I'm trying to delicately and logically explain how this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
And I kind of see that pattern a lot. People are like, this is the solution that I want to solve the problem. And then I go, that is a Trojan horse for way worse treatment of humans later. And that's kind of a pattern in all of these subjects, all of the solutions. So the media will help hype a problem up. And then the only solution is something that if you fast forward 50 years with that solution implemented, you can see, oh my God, that could lead to significantly worse stuff.
Right.
Like the citizenry having no firearms.
Well, look at
right. That's what they always want with gun control. They want to blast stuff and say everybody should get rid of guns. And then what happens? Fast forward a couple years from any other country that's ever got rid of their guns. And then if the government wants to implement some bullshit like they did in Australia, right? You got no option. Guess you're locked down. I guess in Australia during COVID, if your family lived 4.67 kilometers away, you don't get to see them for 2 years.
Yep.
Blip. Don't you wish you had guns now? Do you miss Mimi? Do you miss Mama?
They had literal COVID concentration camps over there. Literally.
Yeah, quarantine. Excuse us. Quarantine camps that you can't leave.
Proper.
Right. I remember two people. I remember they were trying to call it a quarantine facility. Do you remember? And 2 people escaped.
Yeah.
From it, and they were like, what? Because they were basically saying it's voluntary is what they were portraying. And they were like, but 2 people escaped. And then there was videos of police doing deep searches of, like, they were like, come on to the cars, and they would look in their trunk for the guys and everything. It's like, It doesn't seem too voluntary if you guys are checking trunks for if these escapees. Why'd they have to jump a fence to get out of your quarantine camp if it's not locked?
Right.
You know? And so anyway, that's what I'm saying, man. The interesting thing is that the World Health Organization, Bill Gates, all these people, they tout the Chinese model for controlling the population the way that China did. Well, we've been through so much, we barely remember this. China was welding the doors shut in apartment buildings so that nobody could get out, right? And they were jumping to their death out of misery and starvation within the last year.
The apartment buildings were catching on fire, and if you happen to be welded in there, even though it wasn't even on your floor, oh well.
Rotisserie chicken, convection, cooked you then, you know, cooked you in. You can't get out. No, you can't get out. You know, like and so.
So sad.
Anyway, you look at these different
But that's what people think. No, that's what our young people think.
Yeah, they look at it and they go, that's safer. It's safer if we let the other people. But the problem is that's because they think because they're so immature, they think other people in charge are more mature and can do things right because they definitely can't, right? That's kind of the thing. The people in the world today feel inadequate. They don't know how to do things. They don't know how to survive. They don't know how to plan, how to create less human suffering. So they trust someone else to do it. And so with trusting someone else to do it, you have to give up your freedom in order to gain a little bit of safety. And so they're okay with that trade because they've been made to be weak people.
Do you think they're really okay with that trade up to a point here for what people and these young people? Well, some, I think, because it's not really implicated like it really is.
Will be.
Right.
Yeah, when they've got an AK-47 and they're poking you in the back and saying, step into the cubicle now or you're going to lose your food rights tomorrow. You know, you're not allowed to enter the bread line unless you get in your cubicle at the appropriate time. Then they'll be like, oh my God, this was a bad decision.
What are we going to do? And we're like, you stupid.
Yeah, we're going to be like,
I told you.
But we won't be in the cubicle. Me and you will be like, Shaq will be like, I told you, bitch. You know, like.
We'll be in the gallows, be like, it's a fun ride.
I tried to tell you. Like, at least I went out with my damn boots
with his
on.
mug in the gallows.
I'm going to be like, hey, man. I'm drinking piss. It's like somebody's piss because there's no water.
I only got 5 days this time. I only got 5 days.
I ain't drinking y'all's vaccine water. I got my own water. I'm drinking my own piss. I'm like, it's better than y'all's water.
When we come. Guys,
you can get this mug one day sometime in the future when I start selling it again. But until then, you just have to enjoy me holding it up.
We're gonna show off when we come back into like Gen Pop, like how many days in the concentration camp we did. Like, it's only 2 weeks. Oh, what'd you do? Oh, I was telling them about the Constitution. You have no idea how much they hate that.
Yeah.
It'll be
individual rights.
There's only 12 days in the concentration camp to re-educate me on how the Constitution was bad. We'll be at that point very, very soon if it keeps going this way.
I mean, they're basically doing what they call personality assassinations. What's the word? Character assassinations, yes. Right? So we're already in the era of character assassinations. They're not far from just actually, like, you know how many people were calling for Andrew Tate to actually be killed?
No, I
think he's still in jail, by the way.
He is. I think he got like another 30 days or something.
I'm sure he did.
You're right. No, in Portland, remember when that he was gay, I think. He was a conservative and he got shot, and then somebody it was an Antifa guy that hunted him down and shot him knowing he was a conservative. So literally there's no question that why he got shot. And somebody went and interviewed and said, oh, what do you think about, this guy from Patriot Prayer, I'm not really sure, getting shot by an Antifa who hunted him down just because he's a conservative. And the people on the street are like, oh yeah, he deserved to die. Oh yeah, he's a Trump supporter, whatever. A lady
what you got coming to you. That's karma.
That's how they felt.
And it's like, what?
That's how they felt. That
bro,
he
could literally like Mao Zedong, and I'll be like, yeah, but you shouldn't die. You know what I'm saying? But like these people are like, I voted for Trump. It's like, well, then you should die. It's like, you guys are the side of love and tolerance? What the beep? You know?
Exactly. I don't understand.
I understand. It's complete brainwashing to people that haven't thought for themselves. They've contracted out their thinking, and they are handed the conclusions and told to agree with it with emotional hype behind it, and all their celebrities clap and say the same thing.
Yeah.
Look at Pink talking about, if you're unvaccinated, I don't want you listening to my music.
No problem.
It's like, no problem, chick. Like,
It
nobody's
wasn't that great to begin with.
Nobody's
Yeah.
cared about your music since the only song I ever even know that you did. And I can't even remember what it is right now. I don't even remember what the name of the song
I'm
is.
trying to think, actually.
Yeah, now I'm like,
I
what
just
is this
remembered
song?
her. The only what only
Is
made
it
her stand out.
I'm coming out? Is that Pink?
One. I think so.
Okay, yeah, that's the only
song.
song I know. What was that, 25 years ago?
Oh,
You're not exactly relevant anymore, sis.
Well, and what made her stand out was like, oh, look, she's edgy and rockery looking, but still like a blonde, but not Britney, because everybody's getting tired of the Britneys and the Christina Aguilera. We're like, look, edgy punk, but the public didn't really take it in.
Right.
Like they take in pixie cuts now. Like
Right.
they didn't take it in back then. So she
Well,
didn't
and she's not even edgy today. You know,
Right,
she doesn't have a
she's-
penis. She doesn't have a ding dong, man.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I mean, she's got to get a ding dong to really get
that's
into
why
the woke
she's trying
crowd
to
today.
be so woke. Yeah, because she's not woke enough for them now. She was edgy back then. Nobody really wanted that pixie cut and like, you know, kind of butchy look on a woman that, you know, they didn't accept it
Right.
like they do now. Now it's kind of like, yeah, we like that look. We want that look everywhere. But she was too early. She was like a decade and a half too early. That's what I think. And now she's like just trying to stay in the woke crowd somehow. Because she just, you know, she made a couple hits, but it was just never like, oh my gosh, let's go to a Pink concert.
Yeah, I
No
never
one ever
even
said that.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
glad you said that because I never even thought about it.
It was like one songs that she would have.
Well, that
from
was the only
her-
song I can remember from her.
Yeah, from her
I'm
album.
coming out, so you better get
It
this
was like-
party started. Which isn't even that cool of a song. It's just something that was on all the time because somebody probably paid to pump her crap out.
Right.
Now that what's his name, Tech9, Takashi. What's
gosh, yes.
what's the guy with the rainbow who's always like
Yes.
yeah whatever that
Yes,
guy when
you
he
got
came
it
out.
right. Oh,
He did that live when he was talking about, no, you guys don't understand. You can buy number one. He was like, you can buy number one. He was like, you buy enough views, you win everything.
That's true. Payola. I
So-
think the word is payola too. It's also buying number one as far as streams and media and social media. There's also payola, which is kind of the same thing with like radio plays. Like, oh, only the people with the money that push it to the radio person, they'll play their songs. Obviously, the record companies have all that big money, but not the independent artists. That's just really good, you know?
Yeah. I'm sick of the Matrix. I'm sick of the obvious,
Mm-hmm.
like I can tell, like every time I see a Taylor Swift tweet, I'm like, especially if it's like a long one, I'm like, oh, okay, your handler texted you.
Right.
And you know, nobody used to believe that the celebrities had handlers.
We
They were
talked
like,
about this
we've
last time.
heard of it. And then Kanye West was like, you could see the text message from his actual handler that was like, I'll put you into like insane asylums if you don't do what I say and stop talking crazy. And it's just like, oh, they literally have handlers. And it's like, yeah, they have actual handlers. And a lot of these people, like you talked about Lil Nas X, you know, Tommy Vex talked about that, how Lil Nas X was like crying on set and stuff like that, doesn't want to do this stuff. And they're like, we need you to gay everything up way more. And he's like, ugh, you know, like,
oh my gosh.
and
now that you
he's
said
sad
that,
about it because he
somebody-
doesn't want to do it.
I saw something or read
The girl
something.
on TikTok, you showed me.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the
yes.
video of the girl who's friends with the drummer.
And says that he's not actually
He's
not
not.
actually gay, but
Right.
he's doing it because
Right, he
obviously
signed a contract. They gave, so these contracts that they sign are crazy contracts, man. They will be like, we have the rights to your likeness, the rights to your this, the rights to your this, and then they get these young people like Lil Nas X to sign it, and then they're just entrapped by this contract forever
gosh.
and making, you know, $800,000 a year. They get a little cut of
Wow.
whatever the situation is, and they're basically the puppet.
I didn't realize that's what he was. I didn't realize that's what Tommy Vext was saying. I didn't, because his audio was cutting out, so I didn't get that.
Yeah. Well, everybody, that's it for this evening. My ears are like hurt because they've been in this headphones. These headphones hurt my ears after a while.
because I didn't put it right. But yeah, all right, get the hell out of here.
Much love. Get the hell out of here.
With love.
With love. Get the hell out of here.
With love.
Much love, everybody. See you next week. Ba-da-doop-doop-doop. Bye.